Okay, let's call us up to order. Meeting of the West Newbury Board of Selectmen, July 13th, 5:45 p.m. This meeting is being broadcast on local cable TV and recorded for rebroadcast on the local cable channels and on the internet. The meeting is also accessible by remote participation. Under Go to Meeting, the access code is 321-485-909, or you can also call in Go to Meeting by phone. Let's see. We are still, as before, looking for a few more people that might want to be interested in the FinCom, the Capital Improvements Committee, and other committees that you can see on the town website. Subscribe to announcements related to the town at www.westnewbury.org/subscribe. The first order of business is discussion of the process, the new proposal from Cottage Advisors to Mass Housing related to the 40B on Coffin and Main Street. So the Mass Housing, Angus contacted them, and they did extend the time that they would allow additional comments from the town to be taken. Initially, they were giving us an almost impossible timeline. Now they have extended the deadline until August 7th. So it's still a very short timeline, but at least it's not an impossible timeline. So we have a little bit more time to review it. We'd like to have our comments in relatively soon so that we can coalesce things on the August 3rd Board of Selectmen meeting so that we can go over the documents and have everything copacetic so that we can send it in on August 7th. And so, Angus, anything further you want to add to that?
No, I agree totally with your assessment, Archie. It's still a very tight timeline, a very short timeline, but it's no longer, I believe, an impossible timeline. I have communicated around to the boards, commissions, committees, and departments the August 7th and the need to receive comments no later than roughly the prior Wednesday. The only things we have going for us, I think, are the fact that obviously it's the same site, but it is a very different development. So people are going to need to really look at it closely. Secondly, we do have some supplemental assistance from KP Law, which we didn't have the first time around. So that's going to provide some of the resource we need to make that timeline. I did hear back from the developer by phone last week following the board's meeting, and they said that they were going to, by that point, Mass Housing had already communicated the August 7th date, and I was told verbally that the developer would not consent to an extension beyond then.
Do you know, Angus, did that extension that Mass Housing gave to August 7th, had they received feedback from the developer, or was that their decision without any feedback from the developer? Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay.
Is there going to be any other? The initial one had a walkthrough, I guess, so people could familiarize themselves with the site. Is there any? Are we going to follow the same procedure? Because I've been asked that question, so people could understand how the new development would fit on the site, or are we all done with those things? We're just going to go with old memories and just look at plans.
I believe I have not done anything on that, but I do believe that the developer would consent to another walkthrough, subject to the same limitations as the last time, with total attendance being limited to below the threshold. So not public walkthrough. So that's something we could look to schedule if the board felt that it would be additional value.
I'm not sure it will or will not, but maybe the other boards or commissions might want it. I don't know. But
I just know
wanted-
there is interest at least on the Board of Appeals, and I know the Open Space Committee has expressed interest. There are definitely public boards and committees that would like to walk through, so I could definitely contact the developer. And he did send an email some weeks ago because, saying that if we provide a date, they would try to accommodate that.
I think that's something worth doing. I don't personally, for me, I don't know that I'm not a land use expert, and I don't know that I got a pretty good feel for the topography of the area and the wetlands and so forth. I don't know if I personally representing the selectmen that I would gain too much more from that. I'd rather have if it was given the choice, I'd rather that the Open Space Committee or something, they might have a different perspective. That's sort of my feeling.
Yeah, Archie, under the phase 3 guidelines, I think meetings that occur in open, outside have different parameters than they were under phase 1, where they're limited to 10. I believe that you could have more. Obviously, people would be requested to wear masks and stuff, but since it's conducted outside, I think you can have up to like 50.
That actually might be better than now that we're in phase 3. But I would agree with Archie
That's a very
in the
good
sense.
Yeah.
I'd agree with Archie that the people that, the open space and the people that really matter, I guess we matter, but I think people, understand it when they, Concom and people like that, if there are limitations, I'd give up my seat so they could go. But now that phase 3's, that's a great point, Mike. So it might be better to do it. Let's schedule something. Let's do it because it can't hurt and it can make people.
Knowledge is always power. So let's try a date. Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. It can be 40 or it's either 40 or 50 people. I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
50 people with severe poison ivy would be quite something.
And some ticks. Because doing the Mullen land for the town, I got a tick bite that was a bullseye. And so, it's something you can look forward to.
Okay, what else do we have to?
So, Angus, is that any real direction for you, or do we just all over the place?
I think that's real direction. We know what we're dealing with in terms of, what the board can expect for that August 3rd meeting. We'll work to get you something complete in your packet for that meeting so that you have enough time. Hopefully it won't come to a extra special meeting this time around. But no, I think setting the site walk makes good sense. We do, as you see, have some residents on the call. I don't know if there's any other questions people have, but I've got what I need from this meeting.
Angus, just one question. So, in your correspondence with Mass Housing, did they give you any inklings as to things that our second go around of comments should be different in any fashion, or they give you any direction whatsoever, or no?
No, they have not.
Okay.
I would just say, in case any of you are not having access to the chat comments, we do have comments from Rose Fatira saying that the site walk should cover the entire site, not a small part of it, and that it's nonsense not having at least one representative of the abutters. So we can certainly repeat that request and assert that would be important to do that, but ultimately it's it is going to be up to the developer to agree or not.
So let's, can you just so everybody understands on the line, because people might not understand that. So we can request a site walk, the developer can say yes, and then he can restrict the people that are on the site walk. Is that a true statement? I just want to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, that is a true statement for two reasons. It is under the open meeting law, a site walk is not considered a public meeting, so it doesn't have the same rules as a meeting like this. Obviously, as the board members well know, that's partly because there can't be any deliberation or substantive discussion on a site walk. Secondly, it is private property, and so a private property owner has, or someone with rights to that property, which the developer has through the P&S, has the right to allow or not allow whoever they want.
Okay, that
Mike, is that just about right, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, it is private property and it's not considered to be an open meeting.
So through the chat, I think it is important to have an abutter there. So if we have to make some conditions to the developer, like have one representative, two representatives, but those representatives of the abutters are there just for observation, and there won't be any debate or badgering and or question asking, and they would write everything down, and that at a subsequent meeting we could do that. Maybe we can do some type of negotiation with the developer, because I also think it's important to have some type of representation from the abutters. You know what I mean by that? So if there's some, I don't think it should be a place where the abutters can start asking questions and debating and saying, I don't like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. If we can have some type of negotiation where some of the abutters can see firsthand, that might help the process too. And with the developer, you know what I mean by that, and have some type of representation from some abutters, and they can take notes, and we can get those questions answered if they have them afterwards. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I think we should try to request that for the abutters. That's all.
Good.
Okay. Any people calling in have any, Angus, can you, anyone, let me see, the chat just had one comment. So is there anyone else that's,
Jen Solis had asked who should residents send comments to, and just as with the former comment period, residents could be sent to the Selectmen, which is selectmen@wnewbury.org, or to me. My email is townmanager, all one word, @wnewbury.org. People can send them to both. We're collecting comments from both, and people can always mail comments or just call us if you don't want to. It's always better to have it in writing, but people can call us with comments. Then Kathy Fury has asked what would be open to viewing a butter property to see how it would affect us. Oh, okay. Would the board be open to viewing a butter's property to see how it would affect specific abutters?
Yeah, definitely. That's actually a very interesting perspective. I actually like that.
Yeah, because I could see in a couple of places where, both, Fury's property as well as the property at the top of the hill, that there is potentially really dramatic effect on property, on the butters.
Okay.
Is there any way that we negotiate anything with the developer that the light show at Christmas time that the ferries do has to stay, no matter what they say? That's just me being me. Sorry.
okay, any further comments? So, Otherwise, we will move on.
Hold on. So Angus, what do you think when you're going to talk to the developer and try to do another site walk? You know, just in the scheme of things, it might be nice to talk about that right now, like in 30 seconds. Try to work out something for next week, the week after. How do you see that timeline working?
Oh, I think ideally next week, if we could coordinate it, you know, something the week of the 20th, I think would be enough time in advance that those who have not walked the site and who have requested to do so, such as Open Space Committee, perhaps some staff who haven't seen it in firsthand, would have enough time after the site walk to still prepare comments.
And the request by Kathy Ferry about seating of butters, do you see that happening next week too? Maybe the same day, or how do you see people should contact you? How are we going to organize that?
I think if people
let's see if we
contact us and extend that offer, then we could definitely coordinate it quickly. If we were to initiate that ourselves, what I'm thinking is, you know, that would require a mailing to abutters, and even though we have all the labels and it in theory wouldn't take that long, it's just, I don't know that we could realistically, how quickly we could, you know, we might be able to get that out. We could get that out this week, but it would take longer.
I don't think we need to. As soon as the word, the word gets out, I think anybody who's interested will contact us. I just want to make sure people understand that they need to contact you, and then we maybe on one day or separately or whatever we want to do could meet with people. But when the word gets out, it's going to, you know, people will spread the word.
Mhm.
I don't think we need to do a mailing. I just want to make sure people understand, hey, you know, if the selectmen want to look at stuff, contact the town manager, and then he will organize something with us, or they call us independently. I just didn't want it to be mishmash. I wanted it to be some organized.
Good.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for listening in. And keep so that everyone is Angus will, you know, whenever we have a date and how whether the developer agrees to allow abutters to participate, we will keep you informed on that. The next item is a review of the FY21 wage schedule. In the packet, there is the grades, the hourly minimum hourly rate for the a person at a particular grade, and the maximum rate, and we can, with the new COLAs added to such rates, and the motion would be to approve said increases, COLA increases. In addition, there were some changes that were approved at town meeting with that were slightly different than COLA. Some were contractual, and those would be applicable in this motion also.
I'll second.
Further comments?
Just to make it clear prior to the vote that there are two documents before you, as you said, Archie, but just so the record's clear, there's one that's the one-page document with the grades and ranges, and the second is the per employee breakdown of how that translates both with the COLA and the non-COLA.
For the discussion, all in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Camper, aye.
Thank you. We'll communicate those changes to departments, heads and staff and make those changes. Actually, this would be really important too. I know the print materials say this, but the intent would be these would be retroactive to July 1st since we're into the second payroll period at this point. Normally we would like to get this done by the end of the fiscal year, but with town meeting happening on June 27th, that just wasn't possible.
And this isn't late. We've done it way later before. Don't feel bad, Angus. You did an excellent job.
Thanks.
The next item is there are some line item transfers to close out some line item budget shortages for FY20.
I believe we do have Stephanie on the phone. Her name's not showing up, but I think she was calling in. So if you do have questions that I can't answer, she's also a resource.
Okay. I will. I had a few questions, but I'll. Glenn and Rick, any that you want to discuss?
Actually, I looked it all over and everything was pretty clear to me. And I saw the FinCom questions and that answered questions I hadn't thought of. So I'm good.
Okay. Glenn?
I'm good too. No
Okay.
problems at all. I'm in agreement.
On page 19, so we had a shortfall in town electricity. So how is that possible? We're supposed to be getting rebates and money back on our electricity from the solar field. So I can't figure out how we could have a deficit in that particular line item.
So I don't know what Angus has to offer, but Archie, so the solar field provides somewhere in the range of 85 to 90% of the power, the total energy used by the town.
Correct. Yeah.
And so there is some difference. Now I don't know anything about the details of why there's an overage here, but the numbers, both our production numbers from the solar field and our usage numbers are always going to be a variable every year. Both of those numbers are going to be variables, and so
right. But I don't think we ever lowered that line. In other words, yeah, there is, it doesn't cover the whole balance. I understand that, but we never lowered that line item to anywhere near like 20% of what it used to be.
Actually, Archie, I don't think that's true. You cut out $35,000 off of the budget in the previous year.
Yes, we did, Archie, because of the solar field. We were fighting.
Cut out 35,000.
The same argument we were doing before, because it's like when the budget came forward, we said, why do we need all this money in this electrical expense item? Because we have the solar field and it's supposed to do this.
Who would be cranky enough to do that?
Yeah. So hey Archie, just for a little background. So on an annualized basis, sort of a rolling annualized basis,
Okay.
we're netting, including the relatively small amounts for a pilot agreement, payment in lieu of taxes, and the lease on the land, including that and the energy, we're netting around $55,000 a year from the solar field. If you subtract out the pilot and the taxes, it's probably just a little under $50,000 a year. Again, it's sort of a rolling number,
Right.
but it averages. Depends upon where your snapshot is sometimes, but that's what it's going to average. So I think we've adjusted. Last year probably, or the year before, the town adjusted the amount of money that was allocated for electrical costs. But again, we have variables on both sides. The production number is still a variable. It's going to always be a variable because the weather is a variable, and sunshine versus cloudy days, things like that. And also our energy demands are going to vary. I think AC is probably our biggest energy demand. So it obviously peaks in the summer, but we don't know, each year is going to be different. And over time, we're slowly transitioning loads from other fuels to electricity. If you look at, of course, it was several years ago that the library was transferred to the heat pumps that currently are used for heating it. It used to be an oil heated building. So, things like that are going to most likely continue to happen on an ongoing basis. That explains why those numbers are really hard to predict accurately.
Okay.
What about the grumpy person that says, how the heck could we be using electricity? Everybody's been home, working from home. We should be down on our electrical bills this year because nobody's been working in the offices or everything's been closed since March. I have to go to the food mart. You guys, I don't see you guys there in the morning. I just want to get that answer before tomorrow morning.
So, can I
What time you have
chime in
to
on
be
that
there?
one? This is Wayne. I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind to chime in on that one. We're all still working though. Maybe some people aren't going to work, but Angus and myself and Mike and Paul have been in since March 17th. Every day. So our building is still open, and I know the library has been coming in, even if it's one person or two people, they've been maintaining a staff there too. So we have been coming in, just that we can't shut off a third of the building. It's all or nothing pretty much. So I know it feels like the town has been closed, but we've all been working through all this, so we have been here.
And I would agree with you. It was kind of a rhetorical question because just because people are in buildings too, you still have to heat the buildings because if you don't heat them, worse things will happen. And I got it. Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Wayne, I have one question to you about a transfer from street paving to building operating. It's 23,000. So this street paving money, this isn't this is the town's appropriation. It's not chapter money from the state, correct?
You are correct. Yes,
Okay.
it's
And one final question on page 24, Angus. So additional IT expenditures for COVID-related expenses. So do you anticipate that this is going to be reimbursed by the Commonwealth or what?
Yes, back when we did the CARES, the Coronavirus Act filing with the Commonwealth, we identified known and projected expenses, and we continue to, we have a separate spreadsheet that we continue to maintain on a current basis. So when we asked the department heads flag COVID-related expenses, some do, some don't. But I do my additional review when I'm reviewing the warrant, and I flag anything that I see that I think might be. And then Jenny or Stephanie confirms that with the department head. And then Jenny maintains a spreadsheet of every expense on a current basis. So while we haven't yet done the paperwork to submit that for reimbursement, the expectation is whether it's through the CARES Act or whether it's through the FEMA declared disaster, one way or the other, all of those COVID expenses will be submitted for at least partial reimbursement.
So do we have to I guess my question is, do we have to deal with that deficit in that line item regardless and then see if we get the money, or is it better to leave it in leave it in a deficit situation? In other words, are we making it look like we budgeted it if we pay for it ahead of time?
Stephanie, if you're on, you can jump in, but my understanding is we can't leave anything in a deficit situation.
Hi, this is Stephanie Frontiera, Town Accountant. That is correct. We need to pay, cover the transfer now, and if we receive the funding for this expenditure, it would in the general fund miscellaneous revenue in FY '21.
Okay. I don't have any other comments. Does someone, Rick or Glenn, do you want to make a motion on this?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I move that we would accept the line item transfers as laid out in the packet that we received.
Second, Kemper.
Further discussion? All in favor? Archibald, aye.
Parker, aye.
Kemper, aye.
Thank you. Okay, final comments, final item, sorry, is the board listened in on a subcommittee of the Newburyport City Council the other night related to the Middle Street Bridge project. The councilors had some comments, actually not really in substance, more in style of the memorandum of understanding between a proposed memorandum between the town and the city of Newburyport. My feeling was that the changes were not substantive, that I had no problem with them. And so that's my feeling. I'd ask Rick and Glenn and Mr. McCarron to give comments. But we just want to be able to, we plan on listening in on or participating in the meeting shortly hereafter, so that they can be assured that we have no problem with their proposed changes.
I would agree with you. I was going to ask tonight too that we have this on a future agenda. Whatever happens tonight, that we would have this on a future agenda to actually discuss with the findings or whatever happens tonight after the Newburyport Council meeting. But I felt the same way. There were just more questions and nothing really substantive. So they're actually, if I wasn't mistaken, Archie, they're going to recommend this to go to the council tonight for their discussion. Is that how it works? Wayne, are you there?
I assume if we can tell them that we agree with the changes, then they will go ahead and recommend it. That's the way I'd look at it. Yeah.
And can we
Yes.
we legally do that? Because it seemed like we were all on the call and they kept on coming to me, but not to anybody else. And like everything in life, I talk too much. But
Yeah, you're the one who identified yourself. I just stayed in the background and listened.
You did fine.
oh, okay.
Okay.
And Glenn, you received,
Somebody asked
Rick, Archie, Glenn all should have received invites from the city council last week as a so-called host. They use, I think it's like a GoToWebinar, which is a little different. So you each, when you access, you should have the ability to speak, and it is a joint meeting between the two.
Joint meeting that is posted for us?
Yes, we did post a separate agenda.
Ooh. What time does that start?
6:30.
in 7 minutes, Glenn.
Okay, I got to go get my charger out of the car for my phone then. Okay.
Okay.
And for me, you make it sound so easy but me to find that, whatever you just said is not going to be very
I'll
easy.
send it to you, Glenn.
Hey, Glenn, do you have a pen?
Just so I know, where
Webinar ID.
is it just an email that I can log on to?
Yes.
Okay, if you could resend that email to me, just because I get 4,000 things about COVID-19 from the state and from
Okay, so-
Leanne every day.
So,
Um,
so I believe each of us, probably each of the four of us, each of the board members and myself, each got our own email from Richard Jones on Thursday. Mine came in at 4:21 p.m.
Okay.
Can you tell me what the date of that was, please?
July 9th at 4:21 p.m. And I believe with the.
I got it.
Good.
Yep. Richard, hi, Selectman Kemper, you're invited. Yep, I got it.
Yeah, and so you're on there as a panelist, which means it's a slightly different format than we use, but I believe that means you'll have full rights to speak. Whereas the council meeting posted for 7:30 tonight, we did not post as a Board of Selectmen meeting because the board wouldn't be able to convene or deliberate.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. So what's the 6:30 to 7:30 then, if that's not a council meeting, or it is?
That's the
I think that's
council
the same.
Neighborhood and City Services Committee, which is expected to refer the MOU to council later this evening.
Okay, so maybe we need to have this is just my own stuff. Maybe we need to have one person speak for us about the changes and what we agreed to. And I think my own personal opinion, that needs to be Angus, in that we do anything that you heard, I'd agreed to while they were saying it. Do you have any questions or concerns of what they said, Archie or Rick?
No.
No,
So
I think what
I
they,
think
I think the changes
need to
are
be-
reflected accurately. Based on the conversation.
Glenn, just the changes, they changed it from 25 years to
Yeah,
5.
no, I was there. Yeah, I just want to make sure you guys didn't have it.
No, but that's all they really changed, and in the,
Yep, I got it.
Yeah.
And there was some lawyer who's on the council who had lawyer questions. So,
Yeah.
Angus,
So
is this a true statement? If they don't go along with it or take too long to decide to go along with it, are these $1.5 million grants or any portion of those grants in jeopardy?
Not in the near term, because as
My
long as.
question, okay, that's fine. I don't mean to, I'm trying to keep it quick, because I would actually try to say this to this subcommittee, saying you need to bring this forward to the council, saying, hey, guys, if West Newbury agrees to these changes, but, if you guys don't act on this in a certain time frame, that some of this money could be in jeopardy. I don't know if that's true or not true, but that's a very important point when I think making a decision to move on to something. That's a ton of money.
It is, but we're not there yet. In fact, earlier today, our first quarterly report under the MassWorks grant, we received notice that was approved and accepted with no further questions. The state was happy to see that the design is going forward. And based on very recent representations from the design engineer, they've reaffirmed that the timeline for design and permitting that we included in our grant application last summer still holds. So basically where the DOT, a small bridge grant, is already in hand with Newburyport, I think we are in good shape. Obviously, we want to get the MOU done and we want to get it done promptly. But if there is some snafu and it's delayed tonight by a couple of weeks, I don't think that would be a big deal. If it gets toward, if it gets to be a real delay, then we should talk again. But let's hope it gets done tonight. And I thought last week's meeting was favorable, so let's hope that stays that way.
Okay, so just so that we can say that we can tell them that, I'd make a motion to approve the changes as written that were sent over by the City of Newburyport solicitor, and the Board of Selectmen would agree to them on the MOU as changed.
Kemper,
I'll
second.
second that.
Discussion, but hold on, discussion. I think it might be prudent to say to them tonight, a couple weeks delay isn't bad, but if we go into months, we could jeopardize something.
I think so too, because this is like a really I don't think we have to reinforce that this is an incredibly complicated project over a reservoir and everything. Design is going to take even longer than a normal bridge. So they have to know that.
And you'll be, so I cannot participate in the 6:30 meeting. I have a finance committee meeting here, but Mike will be on and all three board members will be on.
Okay, I need time to try to get on this thing, and it's 6:29, so
Okay,
anything else?
that's it.
We need a vote on that motion.
Okay, we made a motion, right?
seconded it.
Parker, aye?
Kemper, aye.
Archibald, aye.
Great, thanks.
Make a
Motion
motion
to
to adjourn.
Great,
All in favor?
Aye. Kemper.
Aye.
thank you.